I just read this book like 2 days ago. What was her name?
1, 2, 3, let's switch this up.
Hello and welcome back to another video. As you can tell by the title, I am back again with another monthly wrap-up. So today I'm going to be talking about the books that I read in the month of October. Now it's a short list. I mean, all of my lists are pretty short lists, but this one is shorter. Some of the books that I read took me longer to read them, and I'll get into that once I start talking about them. But if you are interested to see the books that I read in the month of October and what I think about them, then keep on watching. So I'm going to start with the last book that I read, and then I'll jump back to the first book. So the last book that I read for the month of October was, I finished the Paper Girl series, a graphic novel. This thing is hefty. Like, this book is so heavy. Like, this is like a brick. I'm gonna do like a separate video at some point talking about this, so I don't want to spend too much time on it. I would give it probably like four and a half stars. It was pretty good. I actually liked it, but like I said, I'm going to talk about it later in a different video. I just wanted to include it because I did technically finish it in the month of October, so there's that. And then going back to the beginning of the month, the first book that I read in the month of October was the 7.5 Deaths of Evelyn Hardcastle. Now this book was one of the books that did take me a little while to read. Who was this by? This is Stuart Turton? I don't know how you say the name, but this book did take me a little while to get through. I forget what I rated this. I think I gave this like a 4.5. Wait, I might have given this 5 stars. Oh, I gave this 5 stars. Okay. Yep. 5 stars. This book was really good, and it just took me a while to get through it because, one, it's a little thick. Sorry, my dog just ran away. I don't know why. It's 458 pages. The way that they speak is not like the way that you and I speak today, so like it took me a little while to kind of get comfortable with the writing style and the dialect and things like that. Also, it took me a while to understand what the heck was going on because this book, if you're not familiar with this book, this story follows a guy named Aiden, I think that was his real name. He's like in this thing. I don't want to say what it is because it might spoil the ending for you if you haven't read it, but he's like in this thing where he has to solve the murder of Evelyn Hardcastle. And he has, I think, 7 or 8 opportunities to figure it out. But each day he wakes up in a different person's body. So he gets to see the events of the day unfold from different people's perspective. And then he has to try to put it all together and figure out, like, who is the one that ends up murdering this girl, Evelyn Hardcastle. So it was a very interesting book, very interesting concept. I think this story was very, very well written. Closes all the gaps, doesn't leave any holes, like it makes sense, it comes full circle, like it was just done so incredibly well. So that's why I gave it 5 stars. This book was like, it was just mind-blowing. Like I can't even believe somebody wrote this. Like this was crazy. The next book that I read for the month of October was the book that we read for my book club, and that was Mexican Gothic by Sylvia Moreno Garcia. I read it as an ebook. Sometimes when I read an ebook, like if it's that good, I'll go out and get the physical copy. But in this case, this book was not that good, and I do not plan on purchasing the physical copy of this book. What did I rate this book? Yep, 3 stars. That's what I gave it. So I was not a fan of this book. Now I'm not going to go as far as to say this book was like bad. I think that this book wasn't necessarily bad, it just wasn't for me. Like everybody has like, you know, their thing and like what works for them, and this book just did not work for me. Basically it's about a girl who goes to visit her cousin because her cousin had sent her a letter that seemed a little off, so they wanted to go check on her basically and make sure that she was okay. And when she arrives at her cousin's house, her cousin, you know, lives with her husband and the husband's family, and there are just some really weird things that happen throughout the book, and things just kind of seem a little like creepy and eerie. And then as you go through the story first of all is very slow, especially in the beginning. It really does not start to like pick up and take off until like chapter 19, which I don't even know what page that is, but it's pretty far into the story before anything really starts to like happen. You get to chapter like 19 or 20, and then it just kind of like takes off. And then once it takes off, it is crazy, and not necessarily in a good way. Like this was definitely like, it was just nasty. Like there are a lot of nasty things, not nasty in like a perverted, well actually no, there are some nasty things in a perverted way, but I was gonna say like not in like a sexual nature, but like literally just like gross stuff, like stuff about like mold and fungus and just like like it just wasn't, so I don't know, it just wasn't an enjoyable experience. This was another book that it took me a while to like get through. I will say that my favorite character is Marta. If you've read the story already, then you know like Marta, like she's a gangster. Like I like her. And I obviously like the main character, like Noemi, she was cool too. I read the book while listening to the audiobook, so that definitely helped me. I think that if I had to go through Mexican Gothic without the audiobook, it's a good chance that I probably would have DNF'd it before even getting to chapter 20. Evelyn Hardcastle, I definitely would have finished that regardless because it's such a good story, but it would have taken me a lot longer. The next book that I read was The Very Secret Society of Irregular Witches by Sangu Madana. I don't know if I said that name right, but this book was so cute. I had never heard of this book. I had never heard of this author, so I just didn't know if it was gonna be like good, basically. So I was like, let me get to this now. Like I read this right after I read Mexican Gothic, which already kind of put me in a weird slump. So I'm like, if I'm already down here, let's just ride this wave. Let's just get through the books that are like and then I'll save the best books or the books that I'm most excited about reading for the end of the month. And surprisingly, this book was really good. I think I gave this 4 stars. Micah is a witch. I think she's like in her either late 20s or early 30s. People obviously don't know about witches. They have like one meeting every 3 months to kind of just like go over like witchy business or whatever. But other than that, like they don't see each other outside of those meetings. They're not allowed to because it's dangerous for them to be around each other. She like makes videos where she pretends to be a witch because she's like, oh well, nobody's gonna believe that I'm actually a witch. So the hide in plain sight kind of thing. She ends up getting a letter asking her to come and like tutor these 3 young witches, which is a big deal because like I said, witches are not supposed to be together. So it just is like a dangerous situation, but she ends up taking on the job. And in addition to the 3 young witches that she's tutoring, there's also the librarian Jamie, the guy who's kind of like in charge, Ian, Kevin, was his name Kevin? Maybe his name was Ken, I don't know, Ian's husband, and the maid or like the cook or something whose name I don't remember. It is just a fun, like lighthearted, like funny, cute story. I love the way that it was written. I loved Micah's character. I like that the romance didn't like take over the story. Honestly, the romance doesn't even really kick in until like towards the end of the story. So you could really focus on like the characters. Those 3 little girls, oh my gosh, what's her name? Altamira. Oh my gosh, that girl is a riot. I also really like the diversity in the story. I wasn't even expecting there to really be a plot twist, but even when I did, I was like, oh, it's probably gonna be this. It was not what I thought it was gonna be. When I got to the plot twist, I was like, oh wait, this just took a turn. It was still like a very like cute, like comforting like read. Like I definitely, this is a book that I would 100% reread. It's found family, it's magic, it's diversity and inclusion, there's representation, like it just, this author really just knocked it out of the park with this book. So the next book that I read, I have mixed feelings about, and it is a book that I've heard a lot of talk about, and an author that I've heard even more talk about, and that is Layla by Colleen Hoover. Now I specifically read Layla instead of reading Verity because everybody that I know that has read Verity, they read Layla after reading Verity. They're like, oh, like Layla was good, but Verity was better. So I didn't want to read Verity first and then it like taint or like skew my view of like what this book is. So I wanted to read this first since by all accounts apparently Verity is significantly better. And I have mixed feelings about this. I gave this 3.5 stars. This story, if you're not familiar with it, follows Layla and Leeds. They are a couple, you know, they meet, they fall in love, and then I think like 2 months or so into their relationship, they get attacked, and the attack causes Layla, she basically had like a traumatic brain injury, so things like personality changes, mood swings, anxiety, memory loss, all that kind of stuff she now is dealing with. What Leeds decides to do is he decides to take her to the bed and breakfast where they met and fell in love. And it's no longer a bed and breakfast, it's up for sale. He figured, you know, we'll stay here, we'll reconnect, all the memories will come flooding back, we'll fall madly in love again. And instead of that being the case when they get there, there's a lot of like weird, spooky things that start happening. It's basically a paranormal romance is what it turns into. This is definitely a good like romance read for like spooky season. So I don't regret reading it. I still think that it was a good read. It's some questionable morals going on in here. And I liked how it ended. The way that they resolved the issue ultimately in the end. I did like that. But it's the middle part that's kind of got me wanting to like uppercut Colleen Hoover for writing it the way she did. Like, ugh. And the last book that I read for the month of October was the much talked about The XX by Aaron Sterling. It's about Vivi, and Vivi basically had this, I don't want to say it was her boyfriend. They were like definitely hooking up, and then she finds out that he has to go back to, I think he's from Wales, so he has to go back to Wales. I think she's like 19 when this happens. So as a result of her being young and heartbroken and devastated and also being a witch, her and her cousin come up with this idea, and it's really just like a joke, and they like try to like curse him, but then it turns out that it actually wasn't a joke, because 9 years later they find out that they actually did curse him. And so now the curse that they put on him is affecting the town. So they basically spend the book trying to fix all of the problems that come about as a result of the magic being all cursed and wonky, and also trying to figure out how to lift the curse. I thought that the writing style was like very cute and funny and easy to read. The language in this book was a bit much. I've never read a book with more curse words. Like, also this book is the only book that I read this month that does have some spicy scenes. I think there's at least like 2, 3, maybe 4, but they're all like towards the end of the book, so I was definitely caught off guard when that happened. I was like, whoa, wait, hold on. I didn't ask for this. If you're not interested in reading spicy books, maybe don't pick this one up. It's not like super graphic, but it's also not very closed door either. It's like the door is cracked. How about that? The door is cracked. I liked it. I thought it was a good story. I think I gave it 4. Let me check. Yeah, I gave it 4 stars. So I would recommend if you like funny, comfort, cute, like witchy, magic kind of stories. Those were all the books that I read for the month of October. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, let me know down below in the comments if you have read any of these books and what your thoughts are on them. Also, if you have any recommendations for books I should read in the future, let me know, of course, down below. In the description box will be links to my social media, Instagram, Twitter, my Amazon TBR list, as well as my Goodreads. So be sure to check all that out. What I'm currently reading type of stuff goes onto my TikTok. Be sure to check that out. That way you can keep up with what I'm reading when I'm actually reading it. And I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. I did not like the fact that he basically fell in love with Willow. Now here's the thing, I understand that Willow and Layla are the same person. I get that. But he did not know that at the time that he was falling in love with Willow. He was basically emotionally cheating on his girlfriend and knowingly doing so. And then the author basically tries to redeem him and justify his actions by being like, oh, well, actually Willow was Layla all along. Like, BS. Like, get out of here. Like, I did not like that at all. No, he was fully cheating on his girlfriend with a ghost at that. And then the whole thing about him trying to drug his girlfriend so that she would go to sleep so that the ghost could inhabit her body so he could spend time with, like, come on now. Trying to make it seem like he did her a favor by getting her back in her body. Like, boy, bye. You fully would have left me for a ghost. Just, it was too much.